Are you looking to understand and break into the space of business intelligence? If yes, then this episode is for you. Hi, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Starlight Podium. I'm your host Varun, and today we are going to be diving into the dynamic world of business intelligence and exploring why understanding BI is essential for any organization that values data driven decision making. BI plays a pivotal role in helping organizations make informed data driven decisions. As businesses generate more data than ever, the ability to transform raw data into actionable insights is essential. BI tools allow companies to visualize trends, optimize operations, and predict future outcomes, giving them the competitive advantage. With the rise of advanced analytics, BI is also evolving. It's no longer just about reporting historical trends, but it's also about real time insights and predictive analytics, as well as integrating AI into decision making. This shift in BI is crucial for professionals to understand who want to stay relevant and lead in today's data driven economy. So, in today's episode, we are going to be diving into topics and questions such as what are the key differences between BI and data analytics, exploring the roles and responsibilities of different profiles within BI, such as BI developer, BI analyst, and BI consultant. Then, exploring essential skills, both technical and non technical, that are employed by BI professionals on the job, understanding the kind of projects they are involved in, and also diving into the application and interview preparation for these BI roles. Now, to walk us through these topics, let me introduce you to the guest of today's episode, that is Shivaganaraju Gadiparthi, a seasoned BI and data analytics expert with over 14 years of experience spanning across various countries like India, Dubai, and United States. Shiva has led high impact BI initiatives across organizations like the Emirates Airlines, the US Department of Labor, and ADP. His work has supported everything from executive decision making to HR analytics to predictive insights. At ADP, Shiva has supported and spearheaded projects that influence company wide decisions like creating dashboards and implementing advanced BI tools. He is also a founding member of the People's Society of Analytics, a Forbes Technology Council member, as well as a IEEE senior member, contributing his leadership and expertise to global analytics community. With all these extensive accomplishments and expertise, Shiva is the right guide for today's deep dive into the world of business intelligence. So, without wasting any further time, let's get started. Good morning, Shiva, and welcome to the show. Firstly, thank you very much for being here today, and to have someone with the wealth of experience that you have in data analytics and business intelligence. I really feel that's going to be really helpful for breaking down the topics today. And before all of that, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Thank you, Varun, and thank you for having me here. Looking forward to speaking to you.
All right, then let's not waste any further time because we have a lot of topics on our hand today. But before we dive into all the meat of the session, all right, let's start with an introduction. So maybe you could take this moment to introduce yourself to our guests, and you can let us know, like, professionally, personally, like, who are you and what you like doing. So the platform is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Varun. So my name is Sivanagaraju Gadiparthi. Everybody calls me Siva because being its very long name. In the US, it is very difficult to pronounce that. So I have more than 13 years of experience in the industry, particularly in data analytics, business intelligence, mainly and also in the databases side. So I started my career as a PL SQL developer back in 2007. And then I did my master's. I went to UK to do my master's in business side. So I did there for a year or so, and then I came back to India and started working with Accenture. So in Accenture, I have worked with two clients basically, Shire Pharma and Warner Brothers. So that's where I have got good grasp of the business intelligence area as such. So Shire Pharma is basically a UK-based pharmaceutical company, and Warner Brothers is based out of US. So I was working as a onshore offshore model. So I worked there for almost close to a year or so, and then I got a chance to work with Emirates Airlines in Dubai. So I fly to Dubai and I worked there for 4 years. There, my initiatives were working on Emirates Medical, which is basically these cabin crew, pilots, all those people, they have to undergo some medical tests every frequently after a certain number of flight miles they travel. So I was associated with them to create the dashboards, to create the, and also they were initiating some more mobile app to book the appointments whenever they want. So instead of waiting to fly down and then start calling to the medical clinic, they can book their appointments through the mobile app itself. So I helped them in that project for data modeling so that we can give the first response through the mobile app. So that's one of the key initiatives I have done in the medical, Emirates Medical Clinic, basically. And then I'm also part of the BI Center of Excellence team, where the entire Emirates Airlines, the data is going to be collected in this centralized repository, and we will be creating the reports, dashboards to the entire organization. So that's kind of like, we have like almost like 35 people working in that Center of Excellence team. I was one of them. And then I also worked on people analytics initiatives or HR dashboards initiatives back in Emirates Airlines. That's what my tenure back in Emirates Airlines for almost 4 years. And then I got an opportunity to come to the United States on H-1B work visa um, in 2016. And I started working with US Department of Labor. That was my first contract project with the federal government agency. Prior to that, I was never having any experience with the federal governments or the basically government organizations. So US Department of Labor is basically, they wanted to bring in temporary labor like H-1Bs, H-2As, and H-2Bs. And pardon, like if anybody wanted to apply for green card or so. So this is basically about the immigration community. I was, hired to modernize their data infrastructure and create the dashboards or reports for the OFLC team to help the immigration community, like how fast they can cater, help these immigration people to complete their visa processing or, the all the government processing related stuff, right? So I was there for almost 2 years or so. And then I got an opportunity to work with New York Life Insurance, where I was working with assisting the fund managers on risk-based, like fixed income investments, risks and returns, those kind of dashboards, basically, to guide, to provide insights to them, where are their insights investments are, and how can they, get more growth or value out of it. So that's kind of reports I have developed. And then I got a chance to work with PVH Corporation. So basically, PVH Corporation for supply chain management, I have done it. So it's like PVH is, you think of like Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, those kind of brands company. So they have multiple stores across the world, right? So if they wanted to, let's say, think of like, let's say, for example, this shirt piece, right? So they have New York store, they have Texas store. On particular month, they forecast that in New York City, there's a less chance of buying this particular shirt, whereas in the Texas, it is more chances of buying. So they align the resources, they align this stock inventory, so that way they can get more profits and they can retain more customers. So those kind of a demand planner I have done for them. It is a just 6-month contract project I have worked with them. And then, so in the US Department of Labor and New York Life Insurance, PVH Corporation, these are all the contract positions I have worked with them for ranging from 6 months to 1.5 to 2 years span. So then I wanted to get into full-time employment. That's when I got an opportunity to work at ADP as a lead data analytics, working part of enterprise apps data analytics team. So my initiatives here are leading the analytics initiatives and providing insights from the data for the across the board, the entire ADP organization, providing insights to the executive committee. So this executive committee is basically the CEOs, CFOs, all these people, right? So it is basically high level dashboarding or reporting requirements. I have worked for them. I'm working for them, I would say. So some of the initiatives are something like, the company level incentives, like the bonus incentives will be decided from the dashboards I have provided. That is one of the great achievements I have done at ADP. Apart from that, I also worked on balance scorecard, some assisting the portfolio managers about the resource allocation, and then some scorecards or dashboards for the CFOs and lower level managers as well. So, and also apart from creating the dashboards and managing them, I'm also responsible for driving the analytics adoption in the organization. In other words, so we are creating the analytics dashboards, reports, moving the data here and there. We wanted to make sure that the data or these data products are being used by the organization across the board for by the senior managers on level up, so that they take the data-driven decisions. So I create a style, dashboard style guides to make it look like those dashboards across the board. Let's say in the company, if the dashboard is being seen, they can see that it came from my team. So that kind of style guides I have made it. And then I have created the analytics usage dashboard to understand where are my users actually looking these dashboards, and are they really looking into the specific KPIs? If so, if it is not, we're going to initiate a discussion with them, understand where we are lacking, or where is there any understanding problem or any priority changes. We are going to tackle that. So those kind of initiatives I am working with at ADP. And apart from that, we started, bringing some new tools into the organization, like Databricks, AWS, and cloud, all these things. So I'm actively participating in the development of moving the data from different systems using these new advanced tools. So that is my life at ADP right now from last 5 years. So this is all my career journey. Apart from what I do at work, I'm also a Forbes Technology Council member, where I write thought-provoked articles, and I also contribute to the panels. Along with that, I'm also an IEEE senior member. There is a local section or a chapter. I am a co-chair for one of the initiatives we are doing for the data analytics.
Wow. That was a very, like, that's what I was expecting. Like, as you mentioned, 14 years, right? Your career has spanned across India, Dubai, and US. So that was a pretty long journey, but yeah, you have had a very diverse range of experiences across these three countries and across a span of these 14 years. And I think that definitely helps us understand why you are the right person to lead this topic, because you have a lot of experience in leading these initiatives for dashboarding and analytics across organizations, right? So I think with that set in stone, now we can move ahead and we can start getting into the key topics for today. I think the first topic is going to be about understanding business intelligence and data analytics, as these terms have in the recent times being interchangeably used very often. And to start with, the first question I would have is, could you explain from all your experience that you've gathered, what is business intelligence all about?
So if you ask the theoretical definition, right, it is basically technology-driven process
Mm-hmm.
for analyzing the data, whatever the companies are um, generating huge amount of data from their day-to-day operations, right? So analyzing that data is business intelligence all about, and then providing the actionable information, like what has happened in the past and what are we doing right now. So in a technical term, this is called as a descriptive analytics.
Yes.
So this is more of like analyzing the historical and current data to understand what has happened and what is happening. That is all about the business intelligence.
All right. So now, at least from that definition, right, as you mentioned, business intelligence is about descriptive analytics. That doesn't seem very far from data, at least what I understand what data analytics is. And that is one of my first key questions. Like, I often hear people talk about business intelligence as it's a completely different domain. But could you tell us what is the fundamental difference between business intelligence and data analytics? Or like, is there really a difference between the two, or like, are they just like like a subset of each other? How does it work?
Definitely, Varun. So I know these two terms are being used interchangeably in places when they're talking about business intelligence or data analytics, right? But think of it this way: data analytics is like a big umbrella. Business intelligence is part of it. Think of it that way. Now, as I said earlier, business intelligence is all about descriptive analytics. Whereas data analytics as a whole, it talks not just about the descriptive analytics. There are different phases like diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. All these things are are all together combined under the umbrella called data analytics. So in other words, think of it like a BI is a subset of data analytics. Okay. So as I said earlier, business intelligence it talks about or talks about what has happened in the past and what is currently happening, correct? And once that is done, then obviously the next question comes up is why it happened. Okay. Then it comes to be like, what is going to happen in the future? Then the fourth question is going to be like, okay, now I know that this is going to happen in the future, but I want my results to be not that, something else. What can I do to achieve what I wanted to achieve? Right. So, so in other words, data analytics is going to talk about all these questions under one umbrella, which is called data analytics. Whereas business intelligence is only going to be talking about what has happened in the past, what is currently happening.
Okay, got it. So data analytics comprises of looking at the past and then as well as looking at the future, whereas business intelligence is mostly descriptive, just looking at what has happened in simple
What
terms.
has happened and what is happening right now.
All
Yes.
right, correct.
So in other words, data analytics is more of forward looking, like what is going to happen. We are going to deal with that.
It comprises of both. That data analytics is like a whole, it's like completely looking at the past, present, and future. But business intelligence is more about what is like tracking the past trends and what is currently happening. All right. Okay. So then, which on these lines, my next question would be about the roles of individuals who work in business intelligence. Because again, nowadays we have the title of data analytics, and then now we have also started having these variety of roles within BI itself, which I'll come to in a moment. But can you? I think more or less you have answered this question, but could you tell us like how do these BI roles then differ from this very generic data analyst role that we nowadays see in terms of job postings? Like,
So even that is also like if you see the number of positions outside in the market, right? Some companies they post it as BI analyst, some positions they post it as data analyst, some positions they post as BI developer, BI consultant, all these different terminology, right? In a sense, theoretically, there is a slight difference between those different titles, whereas in reality, there is not much difference. It is like same face given to
oh,
so it's given a different flavor. That's all. Okay, but in theoretically, if you talk about so these BI developers or BI engineers, they bring the data from different source systems. They create the data models. They create these ETL pipelines. They store the data somewhere, and then they create these dashboards, reports. This is what this BI people does. Whereas data analysis is more of like, okay, from this, what are the insights we can get from the existing these reports? That is what these data analysts are all about. But if you see this latest trends like Tableau, for example, right? It is also giving you the predictive models. It is also giving you insights on the dashboards. So, in other words, although there are many titles like this, but everything can be, working almost in a similar fashion.
okay, got it. So let's
So,
if
um, also there is something called distinction called data engineer, which is a little bit different. Uh, Um, which is also a subset of BI, I would say. So in the BI technology, what I said is bring in the data from different source systems, do some transformations, store it in the database, then do the reporting, analytics, and all those things, right? Now, leaving this reporting and analytics until that data pipelines, automating the data pipelines, bringing the data, and working with the different data types like structured, semi-structured, unstructured data. So this is what this data engineers does.
Let's go deeper into some of these titles, all right? So now when I talk about the different profiles that are available within business intelligence, could you maybe explain a couple of them? Like you already name dropped BI developer, BI consultant, BI engineer. So could you again at a very high level or in short explain like what are some of these titles that we see nowadays and if you have an idea of what their roles would imply as well?
Sure. So think of it like a data modeler, for example, who is going to be working on understanding the data and then creating the how they can store the data and basically the data architecture. So that is what these data modelers or data architects does. And then this BI side, they have something called the BI developers, BI analysts. All these people, they will be moving the data and understanding the data and then creating the data pipelines, bringing the data, some transformations and store it somewhere and then create the dashboards or reports out of it. This is what this BI developers, BI analyst does. Whereas data engineer is like more of like working with big data and all these different types of data like structured, unstructured, semi-structured data and working with the newest technologies like um, uh, Databricks, all those things.
Okay. So I got that difference between BI developers and data engineers. And could you tell us about the BI consultant?
So BI consultant is more of like a liaison between the business persons, business teams and the technical teams. So they better understand the business requirements and also they advise on BI strategy and what tools they should select based on their need and and the implementation plan, like how we can implement to solve the business problem and also often act as a bridge between technical teams and the business stakeholders.
Okay. So I think from
So those are kind of like a more profound, more what you call kind of like an advisory positions.
yeah, I was just actually going to reiterate that itself. So it seems like BI consultant is someone who would typically have a lot more experience and have be at that level where they are directly in conversations with the top leadership team, right? In terms of framing the analytics or the BI strategies, right? Whereas a BI analyst or developers, these people might be at a slightly lower level who would be like more involved in the number crunching and creation of dashboards, is what I understand.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So on on the lines of these roles, I believe there will be, like I just mentioned, like a lot of overlap in terms of roles and responsibilities amongst these different BI profiles. So could you shed some light on some of these roles and responsibilities that these BI specialists would have, and if there would be any kind of differing responsibilities across, let's say, BI developer, BI consultant, and so on?
Sure. So I call, let's take BI as a one umbrella under which let me differentiate the people of like who does the data pipelines work, who do the reporting work.
Mhm,
Okay. The people who automate these data pipelines, they are also called as data engineers.
mhm.
So they understand the data, they create the data pipelines, they create the data models, they store the data in a specific manner, kind of like a serving table. So that is what these data engineers or data integrators does it. Okay.
Sure.
Whereas next set of people who are more of like report developers are think of it like a front end developers, okay? So who basically they consume that data, whatever has been prepared by these data engineers, and then they do some kind of like a massaging, cleaning the data, and then they try to put all this business logic into this onto this raw data, and then create the dashboards or reports out of it. So those products are going to be consumed by the business people. Then there is one more set of people called as business analysts, who are kind of like, think of it like the one I said, BI consultant, who are like a liaison between the business and the technical teams to understand the business requirements and translate them into a technical terminology.
Okay.
So these are the three different set of people, I would say.
Okay. So, all right, I got a good gist of, I got a good clarity on how these roles are differing in terms of roles responsibilities. Like those are the key responsibilities you mentioned, like for each of these different roles. Now, from what I understand, there seems to be like a hierarchy, I would say, or a logical sequence in how someone who is entering the BI field would progress. So, I'm guessing that a BI in terms of and like level, in terms of like entry to senior, right? Like from lower to senior level, I am feeling like probably a BI analyst is a starting position for someone who enters business intelligence and then goes up to BI consultant. But is that the case, or like could you tell us what is that order in terms of like career paths within BI, and how would professionals try to like advance in this field?
Sure. So in the BI, as there are different phases of the life cycle, so there are different tools being used. Um, each vendor is proposing or coming up with newer tools. So people generally start with as a SQL. SQL is the main core for everyone.
Yeah.
So without SQL, SQL, this BI space is not all there, right? So so SQL is the main fundamental. So people start with the SQL, along with that some other tools like if it is a data engineer, they come up with some Informatica or kind of some ETL tools, any ETL tool, OBIE, any ETL tool. Whereas the reporting developers, they come up with SQL and some reporting tools, like the Tableau, Power BI, OBIE, MicroStrategy, any of them, right? So they come up with that, and then when they enter into the field, they start working on their tools for a couple of years. They start understanding like, okay, there are different tools out there in the market because of the due to some opportunities, they kind of exposed to different tools within that space itself. That I would say it is a vertical growth, I would say. Then across the board, horizontal growth is like, okay, now the report developer know many tools in the reporting area. He wanted to get into the data engineering space. So he will learn about, he or she will be learning about the data engineering stuff, like, ETL tools or new technologies like Databricks, AWS, all these things to be like to grow horizontally. Then when he has the understanding of both reporting and the data engineering stuff, they try to go into this consulting role in the advisory positions to talk to the business, and then how to convert that into requirements, into the technical requirements, all these things.
Oh,
So that is kind of like, you think of it like a BI architect or a BI consultant. That's what that call is. Okay. Now, now you have mastered this entire BI phase. Now think of that big umbrella, which is data analytics, under which you have covered just the descriptive analytics. Now you will go a little further into the other types of areas also, like you will be going into the data scientist, you'll be, going into the machine learning, all those things.
all right.
Then finally, eventually, the companies have something called the chief data officer or chief data analytics officer, CDAO. So that is, I would say, the end goal for the
Yeah,
data.
highest you could go. All right. All right. So essentially, one question I have is, if someone has spent a lot of time in BI or business intelligence, they can also transition into data science as well, right? What?
Yeah, they need a little bit of skill set.
Yeah. So, but go ahead. So on that point, like, could you tell us like what kind of chat? Because I again, like they are going from a descriptive end into a very predictive and prescriptive side of things. And we all know that, at least our like ground level, all of us know that in data science, it involves a lot of coding, a lot of stats, maths to understand those algorithms. So do you know like what is the learning curve in terms of someone who has to go from business intelligence into data science?
Sure. So for the BI people, right now I'm not differentiating between data engineers and report developers. Here, now I'm talking the term called as a BI people.
Mhm.
So who have expertise with SQL, some have expertise with ETL tools, some have expertise with this modern data architecture tools, and then reporting tools like Tableau, Power BI, all those things, which are part of the BI profession. And then when you go to the data analyst, they have some extra skills like a statistical modeling skills, all those things. Then when you go to data scientist, they will be talking about some models like predictive models, all those things. So they have to understand and can able to interpret that. So that is for the data scientist. So it's a gradual learning curve. Like take one base at a time to reach to that.
Okay. But
But for all of these, the core is this SQL.
yeah, I'm going to come to that in some time. But long story short, like, do you think for someone who has spent a lot of time in BI, okay, on the descriptive side of things, and maybe someone who is not very familiar with Python or statistics or machine learning, do you think from your experience it would be a challenge to them to move into such a technical domain like data science?
I would say partly yes, because SQL and reporting tools or ETL tools, anything we can learn because this is more of like a GUI based. So you can learn it a little bit in a faster space if the person is focused well enough. But coming to the statistics and coming to this algorithms learning and understanding, so you need that's a bit of like a steep learning curve. So you need to go behind the theory to understand. Uh, Statistics is a huge subject, right? So if you want to be successful in it, you need to learn a lot of different concepts under that umbrella. So there is a huge learning curve, but at the same time, if one has to really go and master that, there's nothing stopping, I would say.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Definitely it'll take effort and time to.
And Python also, for example, right?
Mm.
Python itself is a big ocean to learn,
Exactly.
but at least for data side, we have a couple of libraries to learn to start with, and then they can slowly learn
I
the
think those libraries do make life a lot simpler in terms of they create those machine learning models as well. So yeah, that completely makes sense. Uh, Now coming back to be business intelligence and diving more deeper into the skills and the daily responsibilities of these BI professionals. Let's focus on those 3 to 4 profiles you mentioned, like business analyst, business BI developer, BI consultant. Let's try to and let's group them as BI professionals and talk more on about those profiles right now going forward. All right. So starting with the skills, could you list down what are the essential skills that these BI professionals would require, both technical as well as soft skills that they would be employing on a day-to-day basis?
sure. SQL is primary, as I said, always. I'm iterating that. And then some data modeling skills, like some more data modeling skills, and then like a star schema, snowflake schema, and all those things. And then you have these slowly changing dimensions. These are the main priority. And then there is something called ETL tools. There are different vendors are providing different tools, like Informatica is one of them, OBIE. Then now Databricks is new into the market for big data processing. So then we have, apart from that, for the reporting side, we have Tableau, Power BI, OBIE, a lot of other tools in the market. I'm sorry if I'm not talking about their tools, but this is more of conventionally people use it. That's why I'm trying to say that. And then SAP Business Objects is also one of them for the reporting tools, which is used in the market. So these are the reporting tools. Now coming to programming side, we have Python, we have Scala, uh, Spark is one of them for Databricks. So these are the programming tools. And then because now all the companies are migrating towards the cloud-based solutions, so it is better if we know any of the available public cloud solutions like AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure.
Okay. All right. So that covers the technical side. And
And then soft skills.
Mm.
Soft skills are like, so for any of these professions to succeed, it is good or necessary to have an understanding of what is exactly required from the business. So, in other words, if you understand your business and their problems well, then you can design and offer solutions based on how best you understand their problems. So, so you need to have good communication skills to talk to the business, to understand, dig deep dive into what exactly they need into the lowest granular level, that much quality of product you can provide through the analytics.
okay.
Those soft skills are very, very important.
Yes. So I understand communication, storytelling, presentation skills, because at the end of the day, as we are creating these reports, like to communicate those insights to stakeholders, those skills will be very vital, right? All right. And one point I wanted to ask about was you mentioned for BI, like programming skills is key, and you mentioned Python, Scala. But again, if I'm just going back to earlier in our discussion, at least you were mentioning that SQL and reporting tools are what they would most commonly use, right? And Python is something that then comes when you're going into the data science side of things. So just to clarify, like again, within these BI roles itself, like is Python something that you use on a daily basis, or is it like a good to have skill, or nowadays are we seeing BI analysts or BI professionals also use Python in providing these insights?
Yes, Varun, to correct that small point, like Python is not just used by the data scientist. It is also used by BI people, whether it can be data engineers or report developers or architects, whoever it is. So Python is now crucial in any data role. So think of it like, let's say I have a flat file. I want to do some cleaning and then load it into some database or store it in my local machine, something like that. Or, I mean, this is just one small example I have, right? So anywhere this Python is being used nowadays, not just for the data scientists, everyone in the BI space. And particularly with this new age tools, like for example, Databricks and Spark and all those things, Python is very, very crucial and important.
Okay. So now, uh, then let's say when it comes to learning these skills, right? Uh, how would you prioritize them? Like you mentioned all these skills, but let's say as a someone as a fresher who's out of college, or even as a professional who wants to start getting into BI, in what priority would you learn all these skills that you mentioned? Like if I think
Sure.
like first I'll learn this, then I'll learn this, at least to wrap up the more important topics that so that I'm ready for interviews, and then learn some of the additional things as a good to have skill. Like how would you proceed with that?
Sure. SQL is first, obviously, I'll focus on, and then data warehousing concepts, the basic concepts, which goes a long way. Either it can be a cloud-based solutions or the in-house one. So data warehousing concepts are very important. So then I will choose, pick and choose any tool. It can be ETL side or it can be in reporting side. So either Informatica, OBIE, Tableau, Power BI, any of those I'll pick to master completely, and then start giving interviews. So that is to enter into the BI space.
Oh, okay, fine.
Then you add on top of it different tools, you add on top of it, and then Python you will be adding on top of it, and some data modeling things you can add on top of it.
One of the recent trends of 2024 and I think one of the most recent platforms that has been rolled out by Microsoft was Microsoft Fabric, right? I think right now still organizations in the phase of understanding like how important Fabric is or where they can use it, right? Trying to do those test POCs. So from your organization or within your organization, like could you tell us like how important would understanding what Microsoft Fabric be and what do you see its future like in the next couple of months or a year from now?
So Microsoft Fabric is definitely in the very early stage, and they are like updating it regularly, like anything. And Microsoft is heavily focusing on it. So this is kind of like an end-to-end solution they were proposing for the data analytics. So so I think it is going to be having a great future, particularly where we have this Power BI and Microsoft tech stack companies. They will be heavily going to use this Microsoft Fabric.
And if you do have the knowledge, like could you give like a very high level idea of what Fabric is? Because I think still now not a lot of people understand like what Microsoft Fabric is all about.
So for this Microsoft Fabric, I have presented in one of the meetup here in New Jersey. So based on my understanding, it is basically an integration of different tools for the data analytics perspective. It is BI, Power BI comes into the picture. Everything is in a single, environment kind of a thing, like a seamless environment. So that much I can say. So very good potential for this product.
All right. Yeah, but I think there
And
is, yeah, there is,
there is something called the DP600. I think it is analytics engineer certification that is going to be very much valuable.
oh,
Anybody wants to try?
yeah, I think then it's going to be important for us to track how this like how important this platform becomes soon, because then we'll also have to start learning that as another key skill in our tool set. Now, I just want to ask one question again with respect to skills. Maybe you do not uh, mention it over here, but because there's so much conversation that goes on around it, right? Do BI professionals also use Excel a whole lot in their work? Because that has been one of the key discussions. Like, is Excel really that important to learn? Sometimes I speak to people who want to learn data analytics, BI. Like yesterday itself, I was speaking to someone and they were like, I do not find learning Excel very interesting. So do I need to learn this? Like, can I not go to the like Tableau or SQL first? So what are your thoughts on that? Or at least from your experience, do you still use Excel in some capacity within your job?
Yes, I do. The reason why I'm laughing is you might be seeing a lot of posts um, about Excel, right?
Hmm.
So let's say you have created a beautiful dashboard. So when you take it to the users, they will be asking about how can I download this into an Excel sheet.
All right. Yeah. I mean, at the end,
Okay.
yeah, I think at the end, say most of the senior members in the team, people who have started their journey back in maybe the 1990s or 2000s, like they might be more comfortable with looking at analysis in Excel rather than the latest tools like Tableau, Power BI. But so it is,
No matter what kind of beautiful visualizations you provide, they some of them, not all, I would say, some of them they always want like, can I get this data in an Excel sheet to validate? So basically, here is the example for the question you have asked. So in some of the companies where I worked, let's say the dashboard or report is being delivered, so they ask for this Excel format to validate with their source system to see if the numbers are all correct or not. Okay. So you need to provide them in an Excel sheet. That's one thing. And also, they always come up with And before you give to them, obviously, their intention. They wanted to validate the data, right? So beforehand itself, you also wanted to make sure yourself that the data is correct. So you also download that data. You try to do some calculations to see if the data is matching or not. So I would say you don't need kind of like a macro skill set for the Excel, but at least the bare minimum, the basic ones, you need to be able to do that.
Okay, got it. It is essentially important. I mean, at least it's good to have, I'd say. Uh, Now, how can graduates who are, fresh out of college acquire some of these skills and become like job ready? Again, as I'm mentioning freshers, but maybe as as an add-on, you can also talk about how would that curve be different or that process be different for a working professional or someone who's already got some experience working as in an industry, but now has to move towards this field, right? So just essentially, freshers versus current working professionals. How does that learning journey look like?
So, to answer that question, some of them are very common for both freshers and the experienced people, which is like right now, everybody is using internet. Everybody is having LinkedIn as one of the option. Everybody is having access to the blogs and all those things, right? So there, a lot of these experts post good content on how to learn these resources for free. When it comes to the freshers who probably they cannot able to spend too much money, so it is better to following their posts and understand from them. Try to there they will be detailedly mentioning about how you can one acquire this skill set. Okay. Also, luckily, because of this new Udemy is one of them where you can get the courses for very less price, like in US terms, it is like $10 per course or something like that, some of them, right? So those are very nice to provide this knowledge. That's one thing. So this is basically about the learning outside and also in Udemy. In other things is like, let's say if any new tool coming into the market, for example, recently Microsoft has released something called Microsoft Fabric.
Yes.
Okay. They have their own learning page which talks about it, couple of videos, and also they are giving the environment also for free for you to practice. So that is one good place you can learn and you can move further.
Okay, fine. All right. Uh, Two questions, all right, over here. First one, then quick questions, okay? We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but just wanted to know your opinion. And if I talk mostly about freshers, right? Do you feel like nowadays we see, and I would myself as well, nowadays we see like a lot of industry professionals offer these one-on-one mentorship calls uh, to freshers and not just freshers, to others as well, to provide that clarity or resolve their questions or doubts about uh, about the industry, what skills they require, giving them that roadmap. Do you think for freshers it is important or useful if they, before they start their journey, they connect with someone from the industry, like get on these one-on-one mentorship calls and get that clarity about the roadmap? Or do you think like they can just take that? It's not that essential for them.
It is definitely essential, I would say. And thanks for bringing this point. I completely forgot about it when I was explaining the previous question. So let me tell my experience. When I wanted to get into this data engineering stuff, even I have reached out to, though at the time I already had 9 years of experience, 10 years of experience. I have reached out to some of the experts who offer support through these mentoring programs like ADP List or TopMate, whatever, right? So anything wherever they are, offering help. So I reached out to them and asked a couple of questions like, how can I get more expertise into this? Although I am doing this, how can I get more skilled in this particular area? So that is very much helpful. It is not just for freshers. For anybody who has questions and doubts in their mind, it is better to clarify from the experts who are already into the field. Okay. So the persons who are offering this service, they are very open They are willing to help people who come to them. So that's great learning. So the freshers, obviously, they have to take this as an opportunity to interact with the people who are already in the industry, in the field where they wanted to go.
All right. I think that should be an encouragement for freshers because, like, again, since these industry professionals, like, even they are crunch on time, right? So they might have these like small price tags, even with respect to these one-on-one mentorship calls, like maybe not a huge lump sum, but like a small tag. All right. And what I do also here is like, this is just not for them to earn, but this is also to ensure that these candidates who are getting on a call with them are motivated, actually like strongly motivated to take these calls and take some action on top of it. So, I mean, and then some people come back and be like, they're charging this much, or why should I attend these calls as well? So, yeah, I mean, still, but as you mentioned, right, it's pretty helpful to get that, to get the insights and perspective of someone who has been in that role and done it in the industry. So it is a valuable
Yeah.
investment, even if it's a small investment, but it's a pretty valuable investment for a fresher.
To add to the point, right, there are people who provide this mentorship for free as well.
Okay.
So I myself, I'm mentoring through ADP List. I believe you are also doing through some other,
Yeah.
right?
Off mate. Yeah.
Talkmate, right? So yeah, I think recently two of the people who one is doing her masters in the United States, another one who is not at all into the tech space, who is willing to put a couple of hours every day to learn and then get into this tech field, reached out to me. So that's nice, yeah, there are people who are giving it for free as well.
All right. All right. That's good. And in terms of learning, you mentioned Udemy is a good place to learn, right? I often also get this question, like a lot of people just share these YouTube playlists as well, like where you have these 4 to 5 hour full data analytics stack video where they train, like they show you everything, like they train you on everything within that one single video itself. What do you think for learners? What do you think is a better option, like following a YouTube playlist or actually get enrolling into a course or a certification? Because I think
Uh,
the biggest argument over here is YouTube is like absolutely free, right? So why should I pay for a course if I have something already available for free?
Two prongs to it. One, let's say, for example, you have taken a good course, good YouTube video, for example, you got a good YouTube video and you went through it. And then if you have a couple of questions, let's say, for example, you can reach out to these mentors through Edit or wherever. Even if that is not helpful, you need a more focused approach, then you can enroll into the course. Instead of directly jumping and enrolling into the course, it is better to get the sense of it, of that industry or whatever you are trying to learn, right? First for a free from YouTube and then take it from there.
Okay, fine. Got it. Makes sense. Moving on. Now that we've touched upon some of the skills that BI professionals use day to day on their job, could you tell us what does a typical day look like for a BI professional and what are the tasks that they most commonly carry out on a day to day basis?
Oh, that's a great question. And uh, it's not like
Not
always,
this
every day is not the same, of course.
meetings, but typically, like, how does it go?
Yeah, sure. So it is like um, I'm a very, very early person, so I wake up and go to office very early. So I'll be checking all these emails and then see if there are any workflows or any data pipelines failed, and try to debug them. So that is starting off the day, and then try to prioritize the tasks. Like what are the things I have to accomplish this week, and what are the things for today I need to do to complete for this week. And then I'll have a couple of calls on the, what, like we are part of an agile team, right? So we have a Scrum team. So we have to share what we have done yesterday and what we are going to do today, and any hiccups or anything we have learned, we have to share that. So that is kind of like one call will happen. And then we have some business calls to, to understand where our business wanted to put, wanted to focus on, like which are all the KPIs, and try to gather the requirements and then try to deliver them. So that is the general typical day looks like. And sometimes it is also like entire day will go on debugging the code. Sometimes it is more of like learning new stuff,
Okay.
similar to that.
Okay. All right. Uh, there is one question I have. Okay, and I missed it out when we were initially talking about the BI roles itself. But now that you are talking about day to day what a BI professional does, right? I wanted to understand about the importance of having business context as a requirement for these BI roles, because one of the major differentiating factors that I have always heard of when it comes to data analysts versus business analysts, right, is that business analysts or BI developers, these people should have like domain expertise versus a data analyst who can still manage, look, for whom maybe domain expertise is not required, or like it's not a mandatory thing. And that then also plays a role into these job postings where people say for business analysts, companies recruit people with experience, whereas for data analysts, it's more open to even freshers. So from your perspective and experience, like does having domain expertise play such a key role for BI analysts, or like is that something that's now, I think it's just actually common across all analyst related roles?
Um, it really depends on the company who are hiring these resources. That is one thing I would say. So let's say a company should want a person to immediately start working on their problems. So then obviously they're going to look for the candidates who has relative experience in the domain, because the companies don't need to spend too much time on the sharing the domain knowledge and all, because they are already equipped with that, right? Whereas some companies who wanted to invest in their people, they are fine if they at least have these technical skills. They can train them on the domain knowledge if they have little bit idea about it, and if they have interest to learn that new domain. So that is about the companies. Now coming to the professionals, right? So if you are going up the ladder, let's say for example, if you are applying for the architect roles, or if you are applying for the more senior roles, so obviously you need to have that domain knowledge to quickly show your change, or work on the projects. For general public like who are entering into the field, obviously for them they will not have this domain expertise, so they have to completely rely on technical skills.
Mm. Okay. So I get it. So I mean that's why I feel probably data analytics roles are more open to graduates like freshers compared to BI. Like at least from what I've always heard is BI, since BI analysts or business analysts like have to rely a lot on domain expertise. That's why companies generally go in for experienced individuals when it comes to business analyst roles. All right. Okay. Uh, then now coming to BI professionals itself, like you mentioned some of the tasks that they're involved in, right? Like data visualization and reporting is some of their key tasks. Can you talk about maybe some of the challenges that you face on a daily basis, like or during projects? Is like some things that people who are getting into a BI role, right, should be aware of. Like these are some of the challenges that I should also be ready for in these roles. Like something that you have faced in your experience, like 2 3 pointers or experiences that.
Sure. One is definitely um, the skill you are bringing into the table is maybe a little bit different from what companies have in their existing setup. So we might need to learn that platform to provide value to the company. So that's one thing. And second thing is it's always about the business understanding, right? So business is looking for something, whereas if we are not able to deliver that, we might need to do multiple iterations. So it is better to have that communication skills, as I said earlier, that is going to be very much helpful to dig deep and really understand what they actually want, uh, what is the value they wanted to get out of that BI projects. So that is more challenging, I would say, understanding the business.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because business is always rapidly developing daily. So got to keep up to date with all these changes that are happening, right?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to the kind of projects and work you do as under business intelligence. So I know dashboard creation, report creation are pretty much the key responsibilities. But could you also tell us like what are the kind of projects that BI professionals or BI teams generally handle? Like dashboard creation is one I heard. Like so you also mentioned about report automation somewhere in between. So could you just tell us like what are these other apart from just dashboard creations, what are the other projects or tasks that BI teams generally work on?
Sure. So one is about the requirement gathering. That is obviously one of the work some people does it. It's not like specific dedicated people will be doing that. It's like across the board, everybody will be working on that. Okay. And then this reports development is one area. Reports and dashboards, I would say the difference is dashboards are more of like a high level.
Yeah,
Reports are more of like a low.
want to ask that question. That's right. Just when I was saying those two terms, I actually then thought of that question. So could you kindly reiterate because I think I interrupted you in between. So that is a very
No problem.
yes.
Yeah, no problem. So dashboards are more of like a high level KPIs. So it'll be showing the indicators, graphs, and high level numbers. Whereas reports are kind of like a tabular way of showing the data in a more granular level, lowest granular level, so that the business can pinpoint, okay, this is where the problem is, and all those things. Okay.
All right.
So there is a difference between the dashboard and the report. Okay. So as a BI professionals, they will be working on either dashboards or reports, or some people also will be working on this automating the pipelines. So they interact with the different business areas to understand their data and how we can best bring that data into one system to cater for this BI requirements. Okay. So, and then ETL tools, which is kind of like, creating the data pipelines, or in Databricks terms, it is called as workflows. So, creating that, programming that, do some transformations, understanding the logic. These are all different projects. I know I'm talking about different subtasks under these projects, but under the umbrella, this is what everybody does it.
Okay. All right. That was at least good to know, like in terms of, what are the tasks, because I think people, like I am up, like whenever someone asks me, like, what does a BI professional do? Like, I can only think of dashboard creation and report automation as probably two of the primary tasks itself. So apart from that, if there are any tasks, like I wasn't aware of that, but I think you have listed some of them, right? All right. Uh, and now coming to a project, like when you are getting started on a BI project, right? I would want to understand that life cycle. Like, how does the life cycle of an entire BI project or like a life cycle of creating a dashboard completely? How does it look? How does it look like? Because for example, there's if you are on LinkedIn, right, you see so many aspirants, they create a dashboard and they give out a presentation and they kind of in their presentation list these steps as well. Then like what these are the things, step like data collection, data cleaning, analysis, all these things that they have done. So I want to actually also give them like a real peek into how these kind of projects are conducted in an organization. And because it's conducted at a larger scale, right? And there are a lot of things that happen before collecting data and after that phase, and then also after creating the dashboard. So can you give us that full life cycle of how a project unfolds?
Sure, Varun. So it always starts with a business problem. So businesses come up with, we have this particular problem, we would like to solve this. So that's where the initial thing starts. Then we try to understand, like, okay, what is the problem? Now we understand we need to see what are the different KPIs they wanted to track to tackle that problem. Then those KPIs from which are all the different systems where this data is lying, the underlying data. And then we need to bring that data from we are going to talk to these individual BUs or individual teams where this data is lying to how best we can bring that data. So then we are going to create the data models and then bring the data using the pipelines, ETL pipelines or Databricks pipelines. This also includes the transformations. If there are any transformations or any business logics we need to implement on the fly, we can put that into these processes. Once the data is brought into database, then dashboards and reports will be built on top of that tables. So we'll be creating the data model, like connections between these tables and creating any calculations, creating any cleanings we need to do. So all these things will be done, and then the dashboard or report will be built. Then from here it is going to be an iterative process. Like we are going to show that dashboard or report to the business users. Some people will like it. Some people will make some changes, want some changes to be done. Then we'll go back and make those changes to these dashboards. Sometimes it is also, we have to go back and request more data also. Sometimes it is like a new KPI they wanted to add, for example, during the course of action, right? So we need to, again, go back to the first step and start doing all the steps again until this dashboard is ready. So this is like a multiple iterations. So then we are going to provide the training to the users, like how we can use the dashboard and how best they can, how they can understand the data better from these dashboards. What are the insights they can get from the dashboard? We're going to provide as a training sessions. Then it will go live. Then we'll have this support like whenever every month end the operations will be there, like the data refreshes. If it is a streaming analytics, if it is continuously, it will come the data. If it is batch processing, then monthly ones or quarterly ones, or based on the requirement, basically. Right? Sometimes it is daily too. So we have to monitor those jobs to see we are giving the data quality. And also there is something called as a data governance, which I never talked about. That how it is about who has to access which type of data.
No,
So that is also one of the area we focus on.
no, I mean, it's very good that you got that term up, because that is a term that even I have recently heard a lot within my organization. It's a very important topic, because at the end of the day, you actually do not need all people in the organization to access a report. Like only specific users need it. So does not make sense to give it to the 100 people and only 10 people have the use of it. Yeah, and then I think there are also access and role related issues or reasons for which you want to restrict that access, right?
Yes.
But yeah, it's really good. Very thankful of you to touch upon that term. I mean, it's just a good to know term for individuals, like even though it's not like something of relevance to them right now, but still just good to know. All right. I think now you have pretty much covered very well, like the skills, your day-to-day tasks, and how you carry on these projects, right? Uh, One final question I had is, and this is mostly for freshers or individuals who are actually creating their project portfolios, right? When it comes to creating a project portfolio, what would be your recommendation in terms of what kind of projects they should choose and how they should create their project? Because one thing I've always seen is like, and this is sometimes an advice I've also given to many individuals with whom I get on one-on-one calls. Like I see very basic data sets like COVID and like heart disease and these kind of projects for creating dashboards. And even sometimes I don't see many individuals create problem statements. They just straight up start. They're just like, okay, the objective to analyze the sales of Amazon, and then they just straight up get into the dashboard, which at least I don't feel is the right process, because I would want them to be kind of more close to what happens in an organization. But from your advice, if you are someone who's going to review these project portfolios of candidates, right? What would be some tips or insights or recommendations that you would give them so that they can come up with a really nice and a strong project portfolio?
Sure. Before answering that question, right, I would like to explain why these portfolios are important. Because always, whatever we create in these jobs in the companies, right, we can't share it outside to the public.
Correct.
Because it's a company proprietary property, right? So now, if as an individual, if a person go out in the market and say that I'm a BI professional, I create dashboards, I create reports, and blah blah blah, how the prospective company can trust you? You need to show your portfolio. That's where this portfolio importance comes in. So there are different ways you can do it. Something like Tableau Public is one of them, I would say, where you can showcase your data visualization skills and your data analysis skills as well. So how it can be done? Once that Tableau Public is a free tool for everyone to use, and there are different competitions going on outside. It's not a competition, I would say. It is a learning platforms. One is Makeover Monday is one of them, I would say. So where I think every week they will release one data set, one different, completely different data set. So you will be working on the data set, you'll be creating the dashboard, you'll be showing it to the Tableau Public in the Tableau Public. That acts as a portfolio. And also, while you are sharing that dashboard to the audience, you can mention what data it is, what are the different steps you have taken to analyze that data, and why you have chosen a specific data visualization technique. So that way, it is like a complete overall understanding of your idea, right, behind that product. So that is very much helpful.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that these should be some pointers that individuals should keep in mind when they are creating these project portfolios. And then very specifically, I'm talking to freshers because I think they just create these dashboards and put it into their portfolio, but they don't really, again, I do not blame them for not doing some of these parts because do not have that real time experience. So, yeah, this will be good for them to also keep in mind. Now, to help them and to help all individuals to crack these BI professional roles, right, to get these opportunities. Interview preparation, one of the most uh, one of the most searched about topics. I mean, for any role, to be honest, because if you need to get into this role and start doing these things, you first need to crack an interview. So and you can let me know if you. I think given you have been in this industry for almost 14 years and had like a 14-year long career in analytics, I'm pretty sure you must have had a lot of opportunities to interview candidates over time, right? For within different BI roles. So can you tell me, like, again, irrespective of the BI specific role, okay, when you are reviewing these applications or resumes that come to you, what are some of those key qualities and skills that you are looking for based on which you may kind of shortlist some candidates to for interviews? Because this is a question and a complaint I keep hearing from everyone. Like, I have everything. I have got good projects, I've got good skills, but still my resume doesn't get shortlisted. I do not get calls for anything. So maybe from your perspective, from someone who is on the hiring side of things, like what are you actually looking for in candidates?
To be honest with you, even though you have good profile and good resume is there, first it is because there are a lot of people applying for a single job. If it's, of course, it's in a good company, good role, there are a lot of applications will come. So there is something called as a ATS tracker, which tracks these resumes and then filter out the resumes before they even come to the technical teams to do the interviews. Correct. So the keywords are important. So a lot of job seekers, they make one mistake is they make single resume. That resume will be applied to all these positions.
Mhm.
It's not so. You have to cater the resume based on the requirements. um, so, so you have to see what are the job requirements for that specific job. Based on that, your resume has to be modified. So that's when it gets picked and it come to the technical team to first at least review the resume. That is one thing. And then once the resume is in technical team, so they will be seeing whether it's not just the resume. At least myself, right? I go and
Okay, we
I
can,
go and see
sorry.
their, I, yeah, I go and see their online presence. Like, what are they doing? Are they, learning anything new? Have they done any groundbreaking projects? I would say, sort of thing, some similar to that, right? I'll be looking into that, and then I'll and then I will call for the interview. During the interview, and also if you see it nowadays in the job postings, they mention saying, you don't need to have all these skills listed in the job posting to apply.
Good point. Yeah. Good
So
point.
that's a good point, right?
That's
So
point
so
was I think like again a question I get repeatedly is like, I've seen a job posting, but then I don't have all the skills listed over there. So should I apply or should I not apply? Because if I apply, then probably my chances might not be good. So
there are situations. That's why some companies are posting it. You don't need to have all the skills listed in the job description to apply. That is because they wanted to welcome the candidates who are more enthusiastic and interested to learn these gaps in the job description. Okay,
good.
so that is what they are really looking for. They don't want to miss out the great candidates.
Yes, that will always be the objective for for an organization to get top quality candidates. Uh, Now just I don't know. I don't say it will be a controversial question, but given how we have explained how this ETS works, right? Uh, by any chance, do you think this process might become biased towards someone with more experience compared to a fresher? Like I'm just thinking on the lines of, if for one role you have working professionals or people with good amount of experience and freshers both applying, all right, and that role is like open to all. In that case, could it happen that the ATS or the way this entire hiring process goes, it's more biased towards having more experienced candidates in the final selection pool instead of freshers? Because maybe that might in one way explain why not a lot of freshers get calls for these kind of interviews. Just wanted to know your thoughts. Like, do you think that's how it happens or it's like a 50-50 thing?
Maybe I would say ATS is more of like a keywords based. So basically, what are the keywords are there in the job description? What are the keywords is there in the resume? It try to match up, and based on that, it tries to pick. But your point is valid. Basically, it is not just for the freshers, even for experienced people also. Sometimes, though they have good projects in their kitty, they can't get through this ATS. So for that, what I would say is networking is very, very important. If you have great networking skills, if you are always reach out to the people, then let's say, for example, take myself, for example, I have networking skills and I interact with a lot of people in LinkedIn. So I see a position in your company, for example. I reach out to you, ask for help and show my expertise and showcase my skill set. And I'll ask, could you be able to refer me? There are people who offer help. So they say, yes, your profile looks good. Let me, refer you to the hiring manager or let me refer you to the HR at least. Okay. So that way, the possibility of getting shortlisted is much more better chances.
I mean, so essentially,
Because it is nobody knows.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So essentially, right, what the ATS might recommend is again not something in our control, but you're saying at least apart from the normal job application process, like going through networking and referrals is another strategy that people can look into, right? I think I think that's why nowadays a lot of people are emphasizing on networking as a key skill. Uh, all right. So now let's say candidates get into the selection round and they are now face to face with you for the interview, right? As an interviewer, what would be some of those key qualities that you might be assessing these candidates for during the entire interview duration?
So one is that I always look for willingness to learn. Okay. That is shown basically. It's not like it's not a subjective. It is shown basically. That's one thing. And behavioral skills is one of them. I obviously look for. Like for the question you ask, how you react. Is it like let's say for example, I have asked a question which you did not understand. How you react? Like we will be asking like, can you please explain me in little more details about it? or is it my understanding correct or not? So those type of answers will show me the level of interest or eagerness he or she has it. Apart from this, obviously the technical skills, I'll be testing them. So the basic SQL is obviously tested every time. Tool specific, sometimes it is plus or minus. It's not like always you need to have you need to answer all the questions for that tool specific. Couple of them, if they are missing, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's where some people get fear. Like some people are worried about that, right? Like someone asks me a question about a tool or a question to solve and I'm not able to solve it. Is that the end of my selection process? So I'm at least
At the end of the day,
answer that that's not the end of the world. Like there are still other qualities that you are being assessed for as well.
yeah, at the end of the day, we are all human beings, right? Everybody forgets stuff. It's okay.
All right. And now again, during the course of an interview itself, now there are multiple selection rounds that happen, right? And maybe again, as a BI analyst or a business analyst, you might be looking for, like, you might be conducting specific assessments to gauge like how strong this candidate is, right? Now, again, we know there are the technical rounds where you assess them for the tools like SQL, Power BI, Tableau. So apart from that, what are the other kind of assessments that you might generally conduct in order to gauge the problem solving ability of candidates or other qualities that you might be interested in assessing, like for these roles? Like I have recently heard a lot about, puzzles, guesstimates, case studies, these kind of tasks being conducted in interviews to, see how good the problem solving approaches of candidates. So from your experience, like what are these kind of assessments that you also conduct?
You're correct, Varun. Basically, apart from these technical skills, these are all these puzzle activities and case studies. Those will help the interviewers to, rank the people based on how they understand the problem, how they interpret that problem, how they are trying to solve it. It's not like you need to come to that end solution. They will see your thinking approach, like how you are following it, how you are understanding the problem. So those are very critical, as I said, the soft skills. So that comes into that.
Okay.
So that will be assessed too, because many of the times technical things, almost it is quite similar between the candidates. Then these qualities will stand out.
Hmm. Okay.
If it's if the basic questions are not answered in the technical, that is the end of the story. That is a different task, I say.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is how it is being assessed.
So I think when it comes to interview preparation, like candidates should be ready for even these kind of, should prepare themselves for these kind of assessments as well, right? Problem solving assessments.
Yeah, but luckily, till now, what are the companies I went, those type of tasks were not there.
Yeah, I actually did face them. So, and I was not, and though I did prepare a little bit, but the kind of questions that I faced were again, some of them were actually a little bit challenging for me or difficult for me to answer, but still, like that is why I recommend students that whenever I speak to them, I do recommend them that when you're preparing, also prepare for these kind of assessments as well. Because nowadays companies are like, some interviews might not even have any technical question. Like they might not even ask you to do any technical coding. Probably they'll just ask you, can you tell me like how will you write this query? Like, and that too on a, just on chat or on a piece of paper. Or mostly they'll just assess you for puzzles itself, because probably they know, you'll know everything or you can easily learn all these things.
Yes. So in other words, they are trying to understand your thinking ability, like
Yes.
how far you can think through the solution. It's not about exactly coming to the end of the solution, but your your growth, your flow. They wanted to understand.
Mhm. And now a very important question. So if I'm talking now very specifically about Tableau or Power BI for that matter, now because these are the main tools that you will use for the primary responsibility, that is dashboard creation. what are some of the concepts? Like if I talk about Power BI, let's say that's what you have mainly interviewed candidates for, right? Based on whatever you have interviewed candidates for, if I let's say take Power BI for example, what are like some of the key concepts over there that you would mainly ask candidates about? Like, because I do remember at the start you said data modeling is an important concept or is important topic. But could you be a little specific and list a couple of these important topics or concepts that candidates should be well prepared for when it comes to Power BI or Tableau?
Mm, I will try to ask the first question like, what is a business problem you have solved, and what was your approach?
Mm-hmm.
Give it in a proper example, not like randomly like I interact with the business users and get the requirements, blah blah blah. State the exact problem, what they are facing, and what are the steps you have taken to deliver the dashboard or report, and how it helped the business users. That's the one question definitely I'll ask. Then I will ask about um, basic SQL concepts I will be asking, and then some data warehousing concepts to know, like slowly changing dimensions, those type of things. Example. Okay. Then in the Tableau or Power BI side, I'll be talking about some technical concepts like how the cards are being created, or what is your design strategy. Like, let's say, for example, you come up with different dashboards, okay, different graphs and different these things. How you have thought about it, like why you have put that particular graph, or why you have chosen that KPI as the first KPI to display. Those type of design techniques I try to ask. So those questions, the last questions, whatever I said, it basically relates to your business problem. If your business problem is talking about the sales, obviously you are going to put the sales numbers first to emphasize on, right? So I wanted to understand their design perspective, basically.
Okay.
So that is a tool agnostic, um, right? That is tool agnostic. And I'm talking about the design sense. It is not about any tool. It is not about Power BI. It is not about Tableau. It is about just the design perspective.
Okay, that perfectly makes sense. But again, if I were to just be a little specific and let's say go into a tool, right? Let's say, for example, Power BI is like is a platform where they have created the tool, if they created the report, or if you are actually asking technical questions about Power BI, like could you tell us like what are some of those more important concepts that you would commonly ask candidates about?
Yes. One is about, I mean, in the general terminology, we call it as cascading filters. It is like one filter's value, second filter's value has to be based on the first filter's value selection. So that is cascading filters. So I'll be asking that question. I'll be asking about row level security, is one question definitely I ask for.
Okay.
I will be asking about a specific requirement. Like, for example, I wanted to display something on a hover over. How can you do that? Okay.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and the different color combinations I'll be asking about. Like, let's say I give you a problem statement. How will you design this dashboard? How will you design a specific KPI?
Okay.
So those are about Power BI. When it comes to Tableau, I'll be asking about, this cascading filters is what I'll ask, obviously. Rural security is one I'll ask. I'll be asking about, the LODs, fixed LOD, and all those LODs are there, right? I'll be asking about parameters, why parameters are important, how they are differ from the filters, those type of questions. Yeah.
All right. I just can't help myself to ask, but because again, I see this post so often on LinkedIn, right? About common Power BI questions. And I always see DAX over there, like DAX and data modeling. So just wanted to clarify, like, are they also topics that you like ask about, or that is not really that, or at least maybe from your interview style or your interview approach, like you don't really look too much into that?
I would love to understand what kind of work they have done related to those, like DAX and M queries. So I'd like to understand just to see where they have used it, not like exactly the syntax wise,
Oh,
because
fine.
syntax is
So essentially, like when
yeah,
you are going through their reports and metrics, you just try to get into specifics of them, right? Like if that ends up touching tax, then you get into that topic. Otherwise, it's yeah, okay. Just to understand how have they done stuff. Okay,
yeah.
okay, got it.
I forgot the topic. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, all right. I think okay. I think that was a good overview of how candidates can prepare for interviews and what they should expect. And I think now we can move into the last and the most interesting part of this conversation, which is going to be if like some a demonstration of some of the best practices. Okay. So again, as you have been like leading these analytics initiatives and you have been heavily involved in creating dashboard for several clients, right, across, I think there is no one better who would understand that what are the best visualization practices or dashboard practices than you. All right. So again, could you talk through or help us understand like what would be some of the top visualization practices that you would recommend people to follow?
Sure. One is definitely, I always think customer centric. So customer is first. So client is first, business is first.
Okay.
So, so business wanted to, as I said earlier, business wanted to track specific KPIs. Then I try to order them in a left to right, top to bottom. So the
To right.
best KPIs will be put on left to right
Okay.
and top to bottom. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you see the order.
Okay. Okay. It's like somewhat like a Z approach, right? Like how people would treat.
Yeah, it's a similar. Yeah, yeah. It's left to right. Some people call it left to right, top to bottom. Some people call it. Some people call it Z. Yeah, that's true. That's the same thing.
And
Like you are here, you come here, and then go back here, and then come here. Yeah,
oh,
that's the same approach.
okay. That is one. Like so essentially a structure is what you are talking about. Like,
Yes,
okay.
and then
Mm-hmm. Yep.
then different. Then how do you represent the data? Let's say, for example, you want to display. Do you want to display a bar chart or an area chart based on the level of understanding? How best you can simplify the dashboard that is the spot on. So that's the best solution, I would say. So you have to provide the simplest dashboard, not like too much zigzag things. And color combinations is one I look for based on the requirement. I try to put whether to put single color is enough or multiple colors is really required. So like that. So if I have to highlight year over year growth, for example, so there is a bar chart, for example, you need to highlight the current month and last year same month. That's it. Remaining all months we can keep it just a plain color. So that way those will stand out and people will be able to see that, understand it easily.
Okay.
And I will try to put detailed information in the hover over tooltip so that way uh, users, whatever the information they need it for the details, they can just on the hover itself, they can find it.
All right. Going back to the first point about that zigzag or the structure, right? You were
Yeah.
talking about KPIs, putting KPIs everywhere. So again, when it comes, one important topic that I always think about is not overwhelming the user with too many KPIs. All right. So because since these cards are very easy to put, like people can end up putting 6, 8, 10 cards all over the place. And even in terms of visuals, like I have seen dashboards where people have put like up to ten visuals in one single view itself or in one single report itself, which I don't definitely recommend because it just is very overwhelming to understand like in which structure should I read the report. So how do you like what do you say for that? Like what would you recommend users?
Probably I will not suspect that. Probably some users might have recommended to use wanted to see all the KPIs in a single dashboard. That's why they might have put it. I am not judging here, but the recommendation is not to put too much because it will be too much overwhelming to the audience, and they easily distract from it. Okay. So what is the mandatory KPIs business wanted to track? Just put them in that main thing. And if at all in a for detailed information you wanted to provide, probably on the tooltip you can provide, or in other detailed tabs you can, using the drill down options, you can
Okay.
do that.
And is there any optimum number of visuals per dashboard or per report view that you recommend? Like not going beyond a specific limit, again, max limit, let's say, not minimum, let's say max limit, like beyond which maybe you can see that it will get very overwhelming. So just stop there itself.
Um, I don't have that exact number in my mind, top of my mind.
Mhm.
So probably around 4 to 5, I
4 to
believe.
5 is what you recommend, right? And again, when you say
Yeah,
4 to 5, you're talking about the visuals, or you're talking about the that KPI card on top, or you're just talking about all together
visuals.
visuals, right? All right, fine, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially, is when you
Yeah. I mean, I may be wrong. I may be wrong here too. I
so
don't.
I mean, I would recommend that like the what I would think about Z approach is like you have like 4 charts, so that's how you go like test in that order, right? So 1,
Yes.
2, 3, and then 4 finally. And then maybe on top of
Yeah.
that, you can have like 3 to 4 KPI cards as well, just to highlight the metrics.
That's a beautiful dashboard, I would say.
I definitely would like to thank you a lot, Shiva, for this amazing and very insightful session on business intelligence, and also about dashboarding. Like you spoke so much about good practices for dashboarding as well. So this has been a really insightful session for me, and I'm hoping it will also be for all listeners and viewers of this session, of this episode. So before you leave, are there any final words or any message you would want to give out to people who really want to get into business intelligence, or any tips about, you know, how one can become a great dashboard creator? Any final words?
Make use of this great, amazing internet and LinkedIn connections. Networking is very important.
Mhm.
Try to grasp as much information as possible from the experts in this field, and try to reach out to the people either through TopMate or ADP List to talk about what are the career options they have it. So that will come a long way for anybody who wanted to enter into this field.
All right.
And this is an amazing field. It will be helpful to the uh, businesses and the businesses, companies, and the industry. Um, to you know, shaping the great world, business world. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you very much, Shiva, for your time today. It was a great session. I'm really hoping the session will give a lot of value to many listeners. So thank you very much, and have a nice weekend. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you for having me here. And you're so nice of you. The way you have interacted with me, the way the questions are organized, that's so awesome. I believe it will give a great experience to the listeners.
All right. Thanks, Shiva. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day to you.
Thank you very much for listening to the 10th episode of the Starlight Podium. If you'd like to share your feedback, thoughts, or any ideas for topics that you would like me to explore on this podcast, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's all from this wonderful episode. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and keep exploring new frontiers in the world of data. Thank you.